Most movies don't arrive fully formed. They're shaped over time, rewritten, reconsidered, and slowly pushed into something that can finally exist. Ideas get abandoned, tones shift, people change their minds, and sometimes the movie you end up watching is really a compromise between dozens of different fears, hopes, and half-finished drafts. Not just the story it's telling, but the years it spent trying to decide what it was supposed to be. Every once in a while, a film takes so long to make that you can see all of that on the screen. Indiana Jones 5 is one of those films. Behind the fedora, bullwhip, and John Williams trumpets lies one of the most chaotic blockbuster developments of the modern era. Because before we got Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny, we almost got a Mutt Williams takeover, a ghost-filled Raiders retread, a Spielberg emotional reunion film, a supernatural drama, and a movie so nostalgia-heavy, they basically tried to remake Raiders on purpose. This is the full story, draft by draft, of what Indiana Jones 5 was originally going to be, why it collapsed, and how the version we finally got emerged from the rubble.
Well, they don't come any closer than that!
After Kingdom of the Crystal Skull in 2008, fans were left divided, to say the least. Mixed reviews showing a 77% on Rotten Tomatoes and an underwhelming 53% on audience score. Leaving fans speechless and being the weakest in the franchise, it's safe to say Kingdom of the Crystal Skull isn't a fan favorite. But fans and critics aside, studio heads cared about one thing and one thing only: cold hard cash. Off a budget of $185 million, it grossed over $780 million worldwide. It's safe to say it broke even. So one thing everyone behind the scenes agreed on was that there was going to be a fifth film. George Lucas's earliest official idea was simple. Mutt Williams, played by Shia LaBeouf, becomes the new main hero. In an interview, Lucas says, quote, "I haven't even told Steven or Harrison this, but I have an idea to make Shia LaBeouf the lead character next time, and have Harrison Ford come back like Sean Connery did in the last movie. I could see it working." This interview confirmed what most fans feared the most: Shia LaBeouf taking the role of Indiana Jones. With Indy stepping back into the Sean Connery role, while Mutt got the whip, it was essentially going to be a Last Crusade 2.0. Mutt as the reckless young lead, Indy trying and failing to rein him in, paranormal elements, which of course is Lucas's comfort zone, and a father-son relationship at core.
Get on, Chris!
So with multiple strong elements, why did it die? Well, for starters, Spielberg didn't like it at all. He didn't want Indy sidelined or replaced, and he especially didn't believe audiences wanted Mutt as the lead. With that, it was the beginning of a new era, Spielberg's era, running from 2011 to 2016. With Mutt out, Spielberg and Lucas went back to the drawing board. This era produced three major creative directions. Number 1, Indy and Marion, the domestic adventure. This version of the draft was heavy on Indy and Marion's relationship. Karen Allen confirmed she was originally a major character in the early drafts of Indiana Jones 5. This version would have opened with Indy and Marion together, explored tension in their marriage, pulled Marion directly into the mystery, focused on aging, partnership, and recollection. Think Raiders, but quieter. More bittersweet, more reflective. This time around, the MacGuffin likely would have involved a lost civilization and a spiritual test of memory and devotion. Something personal, not just mystical this time. So why did it die? Well, for starters, Disney wanted a louder blockbuster, and Spielberg lost interest in the settled Indy. And finally, a relationship drama wasn't broad enough. Marion was pushed aside. Part 3, The Raiders Retread. In this version of the draft, we would have seen full-on ghost stories, full of ghosts, apparitions, and deja vu. Picture this: Indy reliving Raiders, seeing phantom enemies, following visions instead of clues. Basically the Rise of Skywalker, but with archaeology. I think it's safe to say nobody would have missed this nostalgia cash grab. By 2016, Spielberg didn't like any version, Lucas's influence shrank after Disney's purchase, Ford was aging, and the script wasn't ready. A release date existed without a movie. Everything stalled. In 2020, Spielberg officially stepped down. The first time he wouldn't direct an Indiana Jones film. Enter James Mangold, best known for Logan, The Wolverine, and Ford vs. Ferrari. Disney thought a fresh pair of eyes could save their franchise. And what was the first thing Mangold did? Threw everything out. Mangold started with a core question. What does it feel like to be Indiana Jones at 70 years old, and what is he fighting? The answer? His next-door neighbors. All jokes aside, time itself was his answer. The new MacGuffin, the Antikythera, is a real artifact, which is a 2,000-year-old Greek analog computer used to calculate astronomical positions and is one of history's greatest mysteries. Mangold creatively expanded it into a time fissure device, a portal to fix historical moments, and a symbol of Indy's obsession with the past. This version of the draft would have focused on Indy dealing with retirement, divorce from Marion, and the death of his son, as well as feeling irrelevant in 1969. The only reason he's pulled back into action is by his goddaughter, Helena Shaw, and the main villain, a Nazi physicist named Voller, who's obsessed with time travel. We would focus on Indy, who would have to team up with his goddaughter in order to get the Archimedes dial before Voller could, which leads to a classic Indiana Jones adventure with iconic characters, iconic moments, and most of all, lots of action. Now, if it wasn't obvious already, this is actually the version of the script that would eventually get greenlit. But why did this version of the draft get chosen? Well, there's a couple main reasons. It was new, emotional, grounded, and different from Raiders. But there was one reason that mattered the most out of all of these factors. And that was the fact that Harrison Ford actually liked the script. This was the beginning of the rumors, reshoots, and the turbulence of what was going to be Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny. Many rumors surfaced online of where the locations for this movie would take place. There are unused concept art pieces that are often attributed to the pre-Mangold script. These visual pieces suggest locations and scenes that never appeared in the final movie. Some images suggested Indy in some unseen tomb, while others suggested sequences set in Buenos Aires protests and a Nazi-era submarine/U-boat location. These may have influenced script rewrites, even if they didn't match the final shots in the film. The locations and concept art fed directly into how the story evolved entirely. So why did they end up choosing Sicily instead of any of the other locations? Instead of putting Indy in yet another exotic location, Mangold leaned into Sicily because it gave the film multiple archaeological flavors within one region. The Temple of Segesta provided a real ancient ruin for the ear of Dionysus' tomb, and actually connected to Archimedes' lore. Castello Monachie and other sites helped tie the ancient and more recent timelines together visually. This use of a single region for multi-layered settings helped unify scenes that early drafts might have scattered across several countries. So the pivot away from India and Nepal to Morocco didn't just change sceneries, it changed tone. Morocco offered densely packed streets fit for comic chases and espionage-style sequences. This explains why the film feels episodic and almost serialized in some places. The pacing reflects logistical problem solving, not just storytelling intent. All this is why we got different locations in the movie than in early concept art and drafts. But locations weren't the only thing that were rumored to be different or changed. Early on, Mangold has acknowledged he explored a bleaker, more finite ending. Not necessarily Indy dying on screen, but one where the character's story ended in a way that emphasized irreversibility. That's where ideas like Indy remaining in the past and history moving on without him entered the conversation. An Indiana Jones that feels obsolete, displaced, and unsure if the modern world still has room for him. And the problems of Harrison Ford's fate weren't just in the movie, they were for real as well. Harrison Ford suffered a shoulder injury which had real consequences on shooting. Action sequences were reordered, stunt-heavy scenes were adjusted or reduced, and certain physical beats were reassigned or implied rather than shown. This contributes to the perception of Indy being more passive in parts of the film, not as a thematic statement alone, but as a practical necessity. The script had to work around Ford's recovery, which inevitably influenced the character's agency, which in return changed the tone of the film. Though the film inevitably got completed, it still showed that Mangold's script had turbulence and was far from perfect. Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny swung into theaters June 20th, 2023, and received mixed to positive reception and struggled financially. The film holds a 71% critic score and an 88% audience score on Rotten Tomatoes. Its production budget was extremely high, at around a $419 million budget. The movie earned about $384 million worldwide at the box office, resulting in an estimate loss of around $130 million rather than a profit. This was a big loss for Disney. But was the fate of Indiana Jones 5 solely Mangold's fault? Not at all. Because Indiana Jones 5 took 15 years, 6 major drafts, a studio sale, a pandemic, and a wounded lead actor. Though there were multiple drafts, different directors, reshoots, and countless rewrites, we still got one last adventure with Harrison Ford. And that's something worth digging up. If you enjoyed this kind of video, then leave a comment down below on what other topics you'd like me to discuss. And while you're down there, let me know anything that I missed or things that you wish would have been in Indiana Jones 5. But thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys later.